Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heart of American flyover country. And I have as my special guest today, welcoming back to the channel, Zachary Hubbard. How are you today, Zachary?
Doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Excellent, excellent. And we're gathered together today to have a little discussion about the Electoral College. But before we get to that, I just wanted to compliment you on the work that you've done so far on the Robert Kraft situation. And if you would, talk about that just a little bit and maybe give us an idea of what you think this is all going to end up being about, if you've even come to a conclusion on that.
Sure. So it fits a familiar pattern. I refer to them as shaming rituals. It's kind of like these celebrities, when they get something good, such as winning the Super Bowl, then they have to sometimes go through something not so good, such as what Robert Kraft's experiencing right now in the media. And the way to identify the way these rituals are taking place is, again, by what I educated your audience about when I was on, I believe, in early December. Everything that is coming through our news is contrived by a code. The Patriots just won Super Bowl 53. The Robert Kraft story emerged February 22nd, which was the 53rd day of the year. And using the language of letters and numbers, the name Robert Kraft sums to 53. So does the name Patriots. So does Los Angeles. We just saw the Patriots defeat Los Angeles in Super Bowl 53. It was a very low-scoring game. There were 16 points. 53 is the 16th prime number, part of the riddle. So the other thing about this story is that he was accused of soliciting sex in Jupiter, Florida. Now, the thing about Jupiter is Jupiter in Gematria sums to 99. Super Bowl 53 concluded the 99th NFL season, and New England equals 99. To understand how scripted the NFL is, you have to go back to what I was saying before the season even began. The Patriots were coming into this season with 523 franchise wins all time. That matters because that's the 99th prime number. So they had the perfect amount of wins to start the 99th NFL season. Again, New England equals 99. If you take the word patriot, the singular, patriot sums to 99. And I always remember September 11th, the Patriot Act, and then the emergence of the New England Patriots. Anyhow, the team that the Patriots played in the Super Bowl, the Rams, they have the most 99 player in the entire NFL. Their defensive star player, Aaron Donald, who wears the number 99, the name Aaron Donald sums to 99. His birthday is May 23rd, 523, kind of like 523, the 99th prime.
That's my birthday.
Is it?
Yeah.
Special birthday there, huh? When his big story in the offseason was that he was holding out for his contract. Well, funny enough, of course, his holdout ended 99 days after his birthday, of course. So I actually put out a video then, even for the public. I do most of my sports picks on my Patreon page, but I did give people the knowledge. I said, hey, you want to put a future on this Super Bowl? The Patriots are definitely going to win it. They'll probably win it over the Rams, and that's what I told people right after the Aaron Donald story. There's so much more to the scripting, but just going back to the soliciting point. The word soliciting, this is what Robert Kraft is in trouble for. Soliciting sums to 63. Now, why does that matter? 63 looks a lot like 6-3, which is now what Brady and Belichick's Super Bowl records are together. And to understand again how scripted it is, that game was in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Super Bowl 53. Mercedes-Benz Stadium sums to 307. That was Tom Brady's 307th career game, Super Bowl 53. 307 is the 63rd prime number. And if you look up college basketball the night before the Super Bowl, I told my followers to keep an eye on this game because it would probably be the final clue for who was going to win. The George Mason Patriots played the VCU Rams. And of course, the Patriots finished the game with 63 points the night before Tom Brady and co. became 6-3 in the Super Bowl. And for a lot of people that they might say, well, how can you script the game to the point? Hey, go back and watch the field goals in the playoffs and just watch the field goal from Super Bowl 53. They're using technology in these sports to ensure outcomes. It's undeniable if you're paying attention. The only point scored by the Rams in the Super Bowl was a 53-yard field goal. And that ball would not have gone in without technology. It was clearly slicing right of the goalpost. It was going to miss. But then in mid-flight, as slicing right, it just takes a sharp bend back and goes the opposite direction and goes through the post. It is impossible for a football to move that way. The Rams kicker had several field goals like that throughout the playoffs, and so do many other kickers. But the 53-yarder in the Super Bowl, clear as day if you're paying attention. Also, if you paid attention, the only touchdown scored in the game was exactly at the 53rd minute. Exactly. The only touchdown scored in Super Bowl 53 right at the 53rd minute. We've been talking about these things for years on my channel, calling the championships months in advance and pointing out just how scripted the games are, synced up with the game clock. The man who scored the only touchdown was Sony Michel, who wears the number 26. He's from Georgia, where the Super Bowl was. The AFC picked up its 26th Super Bowl win all time. Sony Michel, number 26, scores the only touchdown. And if you measure from his birthday, which happens to be Michael Jordan's birthday, Tom Brady tied Jordan with 6 championships. But Sony Michel, his birthday is February 17th. From his birthday to the Super Bowl, 351 days later. Why does that matter? That's the 26th triangular number. If you had 1 through 26 together, 351. So you have number 26 scoring the only touchdown at the 53rd minute, giving the 26th championship to the AFC. And if you go right now and look at the Rams and the Patriots all-time playoff records, the Rams picked up their 26th playoff loss in the Super Bowl. If you notice the Pro Bowl, the AFC won with 26 points. The Rams advanced to the Super Bowl with 26 points. The season began on the 26th of Elul on the Hebrew calendar. And if you remember that game, the opening game of the NFL season, the only touchdowns scored were by number 26. I told people right then, it's over. The AFC's winning the Super Bowl. It's all about 26, and it was. But also the Patriots, they picked up their 37th playoff win. They advanced to the Super Bowl with 37 points. The last time the Rams and Patriots played in Super Bowl 36, the reflection of 63, the score was 20-17, 37 points. And the Rams lost with 17, and then they meet 17 years later in the Patriots' 59th season, where 59 is the 17th prime. Anyway, Patriots does have that gematria of 37 as well. So all of these numbers are symbolic. The reason the score was 13-3 is because 13's the 6th prime number, and when you add 1 through 3 together, it's 6. It was all about 6. Brady and Belichick got their 6th championship. Belichick's 66 years old. Sony Michel, who was the running back who scored the only touchdown, he played in the college championship in that same building at the beginning of 2018, where Nick Saban got his 6th championship at age 66. See the 666 thing going on here? And if you go back and look at the Alabama game, they won with 26 points as well. And Nick Saban tied the college coach Bear Bryant with 6 championships. If you write out Bear, it equals 26. If you write out Bryant, it equals 26. And Jeff, you know the Bible. Where does 6 and 26 come together?
Where does 6 and 26 come together? I don't know.
The beginning, Genesis. Mankind is made in the 26th verse on the 6th day. If you write out 6th as a word, it equals 26. So does the name Adam. So very special pairing. Very special pairing. It's why Pope Francis, the 266th Pope, he became Pope on March 13th. And 3 is the 2nd prime number. 13 is the 6th prime number, and the year was 2013. So 3, 13, 13. So the primes are 266. The 266th Pope on 3, 13, 13. And I could go on all day, Jeff, but I don't think you meant for me to give that much of an introduction.
So Zach, is this people figuring this out, or is this an AI in the background figuring this all out? Because it almost seems like it's beyond human ability to script it, and you'd have to be pretty unsophisticated to dismiss out of hand all the things that you're throwing out there.
So that's the debate. I have a lot of people who follow my work who do believe it's an AI or a simulation. I don't claim to know for certain. I document what I see. I do see a layer of definitely the people are helping fulfill the script. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But is there something greater there? Is there something demonic behind it? I do not know, and I don't claim to know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So,
And there's still got to be boots on the ground because, and we'll end with this. If you look at I do picks. I haven't done them officially yet, but I do them with the divining rods and against the spread. And I was on a roll, and it picked the divining rod said take New England over Kansas City and give away the 3 points. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but I didn't want to do it. And New England was set to lose that game. They were losing that game. Then you had the Edelman fumble that got overruled. And then you had the offsides, the faux offsides penalty that negated another Kansas City touchdown. They literally, boots on the ground, people there, changed the outcome of that football game to put the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Of course. And I told people that was a done deal. That was the easiest pick of the conference championship games. Coming back to the 99, it was the 99th NFL season. The Patriots and Chiefs had last played on Sunday Night Football 99 days from that championship game. And in that game, Tom Brady got his 99th career win on the road. So that was his 99th road win. Also, Arrowhead Stadium equals 99. So does Patrick Mahomes Jr. So perfect 99 ritual to advance to the Super Bowl for the 99th NFL season. And I told people that I expected in this NFL season, it being the 99th season, that there would be this native genocide symbolism because the United States of America in Gematria sums to 99. The United States was named in history, the United States, on September 9th, 9/9. That also happens to be California's birthday. Part of the reason they were in the Super Bowl. But wow. I said, just think about it. The history of this nation, it began with the genocide of the natives. So you end up having the New England Patriots beat the Chiefs in their home in this 99 ritual. And to remind people what happened on Christopher Columbus Day in Major League Baseball and the NFL, that was Monday Night Football. There was one NFL game and there were 2 playoff baseball games. The Braves were eliminated from the playoffs, and the Indians were eliminated from the playoffs on Christopher Columbus Day, which should be self-explanatory. I mean, Christopher Columbus journaled about how easy it was to kill the natives who didn't have gunpowder. So, and then on that day, the Saints blew out the Redskins. And if you look at, it was the Dodgers beating the Braves. The score was 6-2 to eliminate the Braves. And then in Monday Night Football, the score was 43-19. So you have 6-2 in baseball, and then you have 62 combined points in the NFL game. Genocide equals 62. You see how they did that?
Wow.
So, and that game was perfectly synced up with the Pope's birthday. It was 71 days from the Pope's birthday, and Catholic 71. The Pope is often synced up with the Saints in the NFL. We document this year after year. This year, the Saints became the first team to have 12 wins. They became 12-2, kind of like 122. Pope Francis with the alphabetic order equals 122. They became 12-2 on Pope Francis's 82nd birthday. The day of it, Saints with the alphabetic order is 82. So how perfect. The Saints... And
Louisiana, of course, being the only state broken up into parishes, highly Catholic state. So yeah, it's so crazy that it sounds crazy, but when you look at it and examine it, you have to be crazy to dismiss it as being crazy. It's a strange world we live in.
Oh, it is. I knew things were strange when I was younger. When I figured out this code, I didn't realize how far it was going to go. But now after examining it year after year and just documenting, it's just like, wow, there are just so many things being orchestrated around this. It's
ridiculous. It really is. So this brings us to the Electoral College. I think that we have some very differing views on the Electoral College. So let's get into it. Go ahead, Zach. Start off with what you said you wanted to make a few points, and let's go from there.
Okay. Well,
I don't think this will take a long time, right?
I don't think so either. I found your opinion very interesting, and it obviously does differ from mine. So if I heard you correctly yesterday, you said if we got rid of the Electoral College, it would allow the minority to control the entire nation, essentially.
If we got rid of the Electoral College, it would allow a minority of states to dictate to the majority of states, correct?
Okay. So you have the map up behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you're aware that there's another map out there, and that's the one where it shows the voting counties. And across the nation, what you'll see is where there's major population areas, there's dark blue concentrations of voters. And then when you get in the rural communities, it's mostly all red. Like, for example, Washington State, dark blue state. If you look at the voting counties around the Seattle area, it's very blue, but the rest of the state is pretty much red. Same with in Oregon. Portland, very blue, but the rest of the state very red. In California, the major cities, it's blue. The rest of the state's red. So I would say really throughout the nation, what you see is it's more like it's urban versus rural in terms of the parties they're voting for. Urban votes blue, rural communities vote red, and that's true across the nation. Would you agree with that?
I'm trying to pull up that map. And say that one more time.
Sure. So if you there's other maps out there. If you pull up a map that shows the county voting and the color scheme, you'll see the blue. So states like North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, I mean, they're pretty much red across. But a lot of these other states that have major cities, it's very blue around the major cities. And then the rest of the state will be red. And that's true even in the bluest states, Washington and Oregon and in the Northeast, New York City. I mean, New York City's blue, the rural parts are red. So what I've always seen is the way people vote, it's not really a state thing. It's more of a urban versus rural thing. There you go.
That's what you were talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you would say it's more of an urban versus rural thing.
Right.
Okay. Now, just looking at this map, I haven't really had a time to study it. Now, of course, I'm a little ethnocentric on this, but I think it makes my point even better that if you don't have the Electoral College, which ensures equitable voice for all of the states, you wind up with a massive amount of the country being dictated to by tiny little pockets of the country.
Well, you have to remember, I mean, the cities are concentrated with people. There's people living on top of people in the cities, where
right.
in rural, it's more spread out. So here's just what I see.
Okay.
The popular vote, understand, for people out there who aren't familiar with me, I've never voted. I was 17 when the Bush-Gore election went down, and I just decided that voting was a fraud, and I didn't want to participate in it. So that's my personal take.
And I'm about to join you.
Okay. But even still, I've the way my perception of the Electoral College has been is that the voice of the people, the majority, is not heard because of the Electoral College. In my lifetime, I now watched Trump win the election, and understand, I think it's all rigged and predetermined. But
okay.
Even with the numbers that they report to us, Trump did not win the popular vote, at least from what we're told, correct? But he won the Electoral College.
Mm-hmm.
So
the fifth time that's happened in the history of the, I think, 59 or 60 presidential elections. This was the fifth time that the winner of the electoral had a popular vote total.
Sure, and it's been happening more in recent times.
It's happened. Yeah, it happened in 1824, 1876, 1888, and then in 2000 and 2016.
Did it happen in 2004 or no?
According to the data that I pulled before we came on here, no, it was just 2000 and 2016.
Okay, so the first time Bush won, but not the second. So, yeah. So anyhow, I mean, to me, it just feels that if we're the United States of America, because this is the point you were making yesterday,
mm-hmm.
Isn't it really more about the people united within these states than the actual states themselves? And if not, which I assume you're going to make the point, I would like to listen to that reasoning.
Well, the point is, I mean, if you just look at, I mean, all you have to do really, if you're trying to get the original intent, and I'm an original intent guy, and the preamble of the Constitution says that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union and provide for the common defense, the general welfare, what this is it's not a democracy. That's a misnomer. People think the U.S. is a democracy. It was never intended to be a democracy. It's a representational constitutional republic. And what this is, and I think this is the intent of the founders, and I happen to agree with it. Of course, I'm a Southerner, and that probably might explain part of it. But the will of the states is what is to be preserved within a union. It's a union of sovereign states. And the reason why states have joined into this union is for the common good, the common betterment, promote the general welfare, secure blessings of liberty to posterity, and ordain and establish a constitution in an effort to join together for a common good. But within that joining together, in order to have the will and the sovereignty of the several sovereign states respected, the Electoral College was established so that the populous states or regional states can't dictate to the whole. I mean, right now, up until now, it's been about 9 states that are more liberal, and now it's down to 6. So my argument would be, without the Electoral College, you have 9 states, 6 states dictating to either 41 or 44 states. And I would say that is oligarchy and tantamount to royalty.
I do see your point. And essentially, I imagine what they were trying to preserve is if certain states were farming a certain crop, and they were dependent on that crop, and these other states were saying, well, that crop's not important to us. And so that could really screw over that certain set of states. Is that essentially the mindset you're coming from, and why it shouldn't be that way?
Well, I come from a states' rights mindset, and that we really are a union of sovereign states. And the important thing is the union of the sovereign states when you talk about the whole United States of America. And within the states themselves is where you have the population determining things. And I mean, to be put forward another argument, the electoral votes per each state are based upon the population of the state. So my argument could be that the population's already figured in. But I see your point too. If you go to a straight person, one man, one vote, then the Electoral College has 5 times in 58 elections or 59 elections caused one man, one vote not to come. But I guess, again, what was the original intent? And it was Aristotle himself that said, true democracy only works for the amount of people that a man can see from the top of a hill.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that statement. Yeah, well, so you do make a fair point, and I understand. I do understand the reasoning. It just seems that if you have to choose, though, if it's about the people and what the majority of the people want that are living within this nation, I feel that is the more democratic way to go, to let the voice of the people be heard. And ultimately, I think what it comes back down to is that this nation is just so big and it's so diverse. The needs of people in certain areas of the country are much different than the needs in other parts. I truly believe that the United States would be a lot better off if we did not have a federal government dictating to us, and we all had our state governments that were accountable to us and looking out for our best interests.
I couldn't agree with you more. I 100% agree with that statement.
Okay. So what do we do as a people? I mean, what do you see as the path forward and the solution for where we're at?
I think that we have to somehow break the monolithic power that the federal government has accumulated. And I think the only way to do that, and it's already there. I mean, the 22nd Amendment has set limits on the presidency to 8 years. And we have a 3-branch government: legislative, judicial, executive. And if we have a 8-year limit in the executive branch, I think we should also have an 8-year limit in the judicial branch and an 8-year limit in the legislative branch. And if you put in term limits, and if you eliminate any of the stipends and retirements and pensions for elected officials, I think you would go a long way to breaking the monolithic power of the professional politician. That would be my RX for it.
I definitely see that argument. The only thing I worry about with that is at the same time, the way our federal government's set up with all the lobbyists there and the corrupting influence, a lot of people could come in, do some damage, and then be gone. And I call this the United States of amnesia because nobody remembers anything past Monday. If these guys are in and out,
So what do you think should be done, Zach?
I really just think we got to get rid of this federal government. I think it's a monster, and I think it abuses its power. And I honestly don't know if there's any solution to the problems we see with our federal government other than to abolish it. So,
I would be with you in abolishing it, but how can we do it? I mean, even Thomas Jefferson, who, if I had to go out on a limb, would probably be on my side in this debate. Even he said that now and again, a little revolution is a good thing.
Absolutely. So the only way that I see that we can do it is to spread the awareness, create a movement, and say, look, we're not paying our federal taxes.
Boom.
We're not voting in federal elections, and we're doing it in massive numbers. So we're safe, because we can't do it as individuals. Then we'll get targeted and we'll get punished and we'll get fined and imprisoned and who knows what else. But if millions stood up, if this movement came about and millions stood up and said, okay, this year I'm not paying my federal taxes, I am not voting, and that spread, I mean, I don't know how the federal government would carry on without any revenue or support or votes behind it.
But Zach, if they gave an election and nobody came, would they fake it and say that Trump did get reelected even though there was no votes?
I imagine they would try to, but it would be much harder to do if there's nobody at the polling places. The news every day, what are they doing on the news? They're showing you the polling places, the excitement of voting. They got people on the TV. Hey, if nobody's there, how are they going to do that? So
exactly. And I think I agree with you 100%. We do need to abolish the federal government. We need to. That's why a few years ago, I was really hoping that, somebody like Buchanan or somebody like Ron Paul could get in there and cause enough crap where there wouldn't be a plurality for the election of a president. They would create a constitutional crisis and they'd have to go back to the drawing board. And that's why I wish that Ron Paul would have had the guts to run in the general election. And that's why I wish they hadn't stole it from Bernie last time, because I'd love to see an organic constitutional crisis that blows everything up and makes us start over again.
Well, I think you just made some good points there, because you see the massive support that these people have. You see every time they run, there's just stickers everywhere. Ron Paul everywhere. I'm up in Seattle, liberal territory, not exactly libertarian territory. What was it, 2004 or 8? I'm losing track of time. There were Ron Paul things everywhere. And then when they had the polling numbers, they were just so tiny. And I'm thinking, no way are his numbers that tiny. We just saw Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, no doubt, won the Democratic nomination. I mean, he was turning out crowds everywhere, but then he's not the Democratic nominee. I remember in 2000, Ralph Nader was making waves.
Yes.
Ralph Nader was selling out basketball stadiums across the nation. And then when it supposedly on voting night, he had less than 1% of the vote. I mean, no way.
Yeah.
So they're not reporting the real numbers. There's no way.
And in I think it was 96. I'm lost on dates right now. Was it 96 or was it 2000? When did Bush get elected the first time? 2000?
2000.
In 2000, I was no, it was 96. I was working because we were running against Bush's dad. We were running. I was running the state for Pat Buchanan, worked for Pat Buchanan, and we were pounding the pavement up in New Hampshire. That shows you what kind of a guy I used to be. And we got almost 50% against a seated president, and the money was pouring in. The momentum was starting, and all of a sudden, it was like somebody flipped a switch. All the money ended. All the media ended. All the volunteers ended. It was over. They decided Buchanan's making too much noise. He's done. Cut him off. So it's an uphill battle that we fight.
Right. So I don't think we can win by participating in the system. I think it's about protesting and absolutely not participating and not giving our revenue and not giving our time or our energy. I just think that's the only way to beat it. So.
Absolutely. So what we really need is to stop having debates about the Electoral College, the tempest in a teacup, and start smashing the cup.
Right. Absolutely.
If you can think of a way to do that, I'm in. I'd love to start a grassroots movement to absolutely. We're not talking about marching on Washington, D.C. with arms. We're talking about creating, disempowering a dragon of a federal government and returning power to the states and to the people. Make it like it was supposed to be, a union of sovereign states. And if there's any way that we could do that, I'm all in.
I think there has to be a group of people who have the resources and willingness that are, these politicians, they campaign, they go city to city. We need that same type of movement from a group of people who are going, maybe even following around these major candidates and going to the same
great idea.
Locations they're going to and saying, okay, here's what else we need to think about. Should we even be participating in the system? And just hit them with the points we're talking about right now. All the years of opposition that seem to be doing great but get no recognition. Just get people to think about, is this system legitimate? Is it honest? Or is it deceiving us? Is it keeping a certain group of people in power to exploit us? And what can we do about that? If we're traveling along with these politicians and going out and getting that same message out there, and we have the right group of people and speakers and know-how and people who know how to help get the message out on social media at the same time, I mean, maybe something really could happen. We're only going to know if we try. And somebody definitely needs to put in more effort.
Absolutely.
I would love to do something like this, but I know that takes a lot of resources, and I don't have those resources personally, but maybe if we came together, a group of us, and put our resources together, then there'd be some synergy and possibility there. So
well, I'm definitely all in. Do you know anything about Mark Passio and that whole anarchist movement?
Yes, I've been checking out some of the video from Anarchapulco, and I don't agree with everything that Mark Passio says, but when he says government slavery, I'm right with him. I feel the same way, and I've been feeling that way since I was 17 years old. So.
Well, he has an open invitation to come on this program anytime he wants. Again, I don't know that we would agree 100%, but I think there's enough of us that have enough agreement that need to start joining forces and make our voice heard. We don't have to be 100% in agreement, but if we all agree that the government is slavery, that's a great place to start.
Sure. And I think a lot of people, I don't know if you're for abolishing all government where Mark Passio is, but even if you weren't, we could say, okay, well, let's just start with the federal government.
Exactly. Let's start with the federal government.
So
I'd be all in on that.
It is time for us to put our disagreements aside and join where we all connect and work at these goals. That's the only way it's going to happen. So
absolutely. Zachary Hubbard, thanks for being here. Tell people where they can get in contact with you and get your amazing information, great books, and hear more of your work.
Sure. If you just go on YouTube, the best way to find all my links is just do a web search for Gematria Effect News. The video should pop up. And below every video in the description, that's something that most people never look at, the descriptions of YouTube videos. But it's funny how nobody looks at those. But if you look at the description of my video, I have all the links for all the different places you can find me. But since you're on YouTube, that's the quickest way to get there.
Perfect. So Gematria Effect News.
That's the spot. Yep.
Excellent. Well, Zach, thanks again for this high-minded and gentlemanly discussion. I think we both have staked out our positions clearly, and importantly, I think even amidst differing opinions on a certain subject, we found a way to come together and hopefully at least suggest and maybe start crafting some real solutions.
Absolutely. It was a great discussion, and I appreciate it very much. So thank you. Thank you,
You bet. And we'll have you on again, hopefully on The Last Stand, and we'll get together again soon.
All right. You have a great day.
Thank you so much, Zach, for being here. It's my pleasure. Thanks to all of you in the chat room. We do appreciate you. And again, check out Gematria Effect News. For Zachary Hubbard, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, wishing all of you a very good day.